Hi guys, my name is Glory and you are welcome back to the channel. I came across this viral TikTok video about President Trump telling the US Department of Education to strip nursing, yes, nursing of its status as a professional degree. The backbone of our entire health system is being devalued. Nurses are furious, communities are scared, and this might affect you and someone you love. Let's dive into the video and see how people are reacting to this.
The Trump administration has decided that nursing degrees will no longer qualify as professional degrees. What does that mean? Regulatory decisions surrounding the Big Beautiful Bill will no longer classify nursing degrees, among other fields of study, as professional degrees, which will limit some students from accessing funding for their education. Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, aptly named for its hundreds of pages, passed in July 2025. The bill set broad policies in areas such as healthcare and taxes, while leaving several regulatory details to individual departments to determine. One of those departments, the Department of Education, was tasked with defining new federal student loan rules. In early November 2025, the department convened the Reimagining Improving Student Education (RISE) committee to conclude a negotiated rulemaking session aimed at placing common sense limits and guardians on future student.
The Department of Education recently made one of the dumbest decisions ever regarding healthcare. They decided that nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, occupational therapists, and physical therapists, among others, are no longer considered professional degrees. Not only is this extremely insulting to some of the most integral healthcare providers that we have, but will also likely impact staffing of these types of practitioners. We're currently facing an extreme nursing shortage, and it's only going to get worse over the next several years. Now, there are a lot of reasons for this, but one big one is burnout. Surveys show that 4 in 5 nurses face extreme stress while at work. And this has only been made worse after the pandemic, where you get stupid people who don't respect them and will even assault nurses. And staffing shortages, partly caused by poor reimbursements from insurance companies to hospitals, cause these nurses to have to handle many more patients than they can safely handle. Now, on top of that, the Department of Education, headed by former WWE executive Linda McMahon, is now calling them no longer professionals. And this will limit the amount of federal student loans that nursing students can take out. Now, this can't make the nursing shortage worse, could it? Now, the fact is that nurses are the most important part of the hospital system. Yes, even more important than physicians. If all the nurses were to quit their job today, the hospital system and healthcare would fall apart literally within minutes. But if you think about it, if all the doctors would quit today, then nurses can actually keep this shit going for a while. And then you take physical therapists, all of them whom now are required to get a doctorate in physical therapy to practice. They too will be limited in the federal student loans that they can take, so that they literally will not be able to actually pay for schooling. I think Linda McMahon may have had too many DDTs and stone cold stunners that she has lost her freaking mind.
Coming for nurses now, here's what's going on. He wants the Department of Education to declassify nursing as a professional degree, advanced practice nursing, like our CRNAs, our nurse practitioners, our masters. Why does this matter? Because nursing is one of them careers that pull you up out of poverty. Gives us a great opportunity to provide for our families and for our life. Most homeowners I know, nurses. A lot of heads of households, nurses. A lot of minority women, nurses. So declassifying us as a professional practice, you thereby limit our access to funding. So you limit a lot of women and minorities women access to further climb the socioeconomic ladder. Yes, this is why it's such a big deal, gang. You think these little insidious things don't matter? They always matter, and there's always something that happens at the end of that affects people. And these type of things will affect patients, specifically patients. I'm one nurse trying to spread the word, so if you can, make as much of an uproar as you can.
Can you imagine going to school for years and then your degree is suddenly just wiped out of the list of professional options and you lose your financial aid? So did you know that the Department of Education under Project 2025 and the Trump administration has just provided a list of careers that are no longer considered professional degrees? So I would like to know if any of these fall in your career path. So let's see, we have nurse practitioners, epidemiologists, social workers, physical therapists and occupational therapists, teachers, audiologists, physician assistants, and the list goes on. So I am noticing something here. These are all female dominated industries. How convenient. So all of these things were a part of the RISE committee in the proposal to enhance the Big Beautiful Bill and eliminate overuse of financial aid in student education. So I got to question all of the MAGAs who are aspiring to be in any of these professions. Is this what you voted for? Did you read Project 2025 before you voted or before someone voted for you? So whoever told you how to vote, are they going to pay your bills?
With the country deep in the throes of a nursing shortage, big questions today about a new edict from the Department of Education. The department no longer considers nursing as a professional degree, a move critics warn could shrink an already strained workforce. The reclassification will limit the loan and loan forgiveness options available to students in those nursing programs.
This black woman got up here and said that she been knew that they were going to take away the professionalism of nursing because of the fact of who they were giving the nursing degrees to. Now, all the nurses in her comments is over here acting surprised, acting like, girl, what is you even talking about? When in fact, all we see is nurses being rude to patients. Those two black women that was also pregnant, that y'all, which one of them you kicked out the hospital and she ended up having her baby. The other one was when the nurse was at the computer and she was doing all her processing, the black woman's pregnancy processing, and whole time she had such a disregard and negligence towards her and her pregnancy, knowing she was in labor. And so when we see these things, we always see nurses always being rude to patients, and y'all want to sit here and act like y'all surprised? Maybe it's about fucking time, because some of y'all don't care about the field that y'all in. Y'all just care about the pay and act like, oh, I need to complain about the pay because the aesthetic is not where I want it to be. When the whole time it's not an aesthetic, you're taking care of people.
So apparently nurse practitioner degrees are no longer going to be considered professional degrees under the new Department of Education proposed rules that go into effect next July. MDs and DOs, they are still considered professional. That makes complete and logical sense. However, NPs, not professional. CRNAs, not professional. PAs, not professional. But chiropractors, they are still considered professional under these new proposed rules. However, physical and occupational therapists do not fall under these professional degrees. They are not professional. Speech language pathologists, not professional. Theology and divinity degrees, yes, they are considered professional. However, teachers, the ones who are actually the ones teaching the entire country, are not considered professional. I truly cannot even put into words how much this does not make any sense. As someone who has been studying my ass off for 2.5 years in a doctorate of nursing practice program, completing clinical rotations and managing patients and sacrificing my time, my money, my sleep, and quite frankly, my sanity, to now be told that my profession is not professional is beyond disrespectful to not just NPs, but to every single professional healthcare degree out there. NPs, CRNAs, PAs, PTs, OTs, SLPs, social workers, even teachers. Like, it is so disrespectful in so many ways to not consider these professions professional enough to be worthy of loans. This decision doesn't just impact job titles, it impacts federal loan caps and affordability and access to education and the future workforce. It's all in all very insulting to every single advanced practice provider out there who works on the front line of a very broken system, but still chooses to show up for their patients every single day. So to the Department of Education, I don't know who came up with this list and how you guys decided on which profession is more professional than the others, but please go back and try again.
So these lists of degrees of education that you see on the side here are no longer going to be considered professional degrees. What does that mean? That means that right now, the Department of Education, other people, decided that if you want to go to school for these degrees, then you're going to have to, you can still get money, but it's not going to be as much money, okay, that you need to get this type of degree. You would have to pretty much come out of pocket, okay? But all of these degrees currently on this side is not going to no longer be considered professional degrees sometime next year. I think they said June or July, somewhere in the summertime. And so, yeah, you would have to figure out what you're going to do. So basically what that tells me is that you don't want any doctors, you don't want any nurses, teachers, because who has the money to afford to pay for that out of pocket? That's the whole point of them getting the loans, to pay for those so that they can pay it back later. And then continue to make the world continue to go round as far as in doing those type of things.
In 2020, nurses were among the people that stood side by side with doctors in hospitals that were overcrowded, in ICU patients, all of whom were ventilated, all of whom were spreading COVID virus for which we had no vaccine all over the place. They were the first responders who gave their very life when the breath of the very patient could kill them. And today, they are no longer considered a profession and not able to get the funding that they need to go to nursing school. Nursing school elevates everybody in the community. If you have a community nursing school in your area, it is a great thing. I remember going to a nursing graduation and seeing many people who are in their first generation with older kids themselves becoming nurses, elevating their entire family, but also making our community safer and better because we had more nurses in our community. Healthcare is one of the biggest professions that people can get in, and it's in every community, and nurses are a profession. I couldn't do my job without them. They're a profession, and it is an absolute travesty that they think theologians are a profession, but nurses aren't. Listen, I don't know about saving someone's soul, but I can tell you, I have seen countless lives saved by nurses. Save the soul for the afterlife. Have the nurses get their training for this one.
So the Department of Education announced that nursing is no longer considered a professional degree, which is kind of ironic considering that the people who are making these decisions are old people who are soon to be going to be screaming for their nurse to change their bedpan. But I digress. And as someone who's a nurse, I want to go over some things that make nursing very unprofessional, because it makes a lot of sense. Number one, as nurses, we save lives, and that is so overrated. Like, who cares anymore that you dedicate your entire career to saving people's lives? It's not like if we all quit our jobs, the entire healthcare system wouldn't collapse on itself, because it definitely would. And number two, we don't just save people's lives, we keep people alive. But I saw on the list that they consider chiropractics professional, but not nursing. So honestly, in the ICU, just fire all of those ICU nurses. They're just a waste of money. Just put chiropractors in there and just have them adjust every patient. And then all of a sudden, I bet they'll get better patient outcomes than whatever we could do,
Guys, nursing is life-saving work. These are people who train for years, put in clinical hours, get licensed, and take on the hardest job, caring for the sick, the weak, the elderly, and the vulnerable. Nurses keep us alive. And now, the government is basically saying their degree doesn't deserve the same as doctors, pharmacists, or lawyers. That's a dagger straight to the heart of the profession. And this isn't just a lateral change, it hits deep in the pockets. Graduate level nursing students will now lose access to the higher federal students' loan limits that once helped them afford school fees.